8:32 right now. Immigrant advocates are fighting back against the ongoing ICE raids across New York City by opening up a new center in Queens.
Make the Road New York opened its newest facility in Corona last week. That center will provide legal support, know your rights workshops, additional resources to so many migrant communities. The center comes at the height of the mass deportation efforts by the Trump administration, as well as miscommunication over the role of city workers and their interactions with federal agents.
So Queens is the most diverse borough in the city. So joining us this morning is Borough President Donovan Richards to discuss what's being done to ease residents' fears. So good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan and Hazel.
Morning.
Great to have you here. First and foremost, has your office been able to kind of keep track of these ICE raids and just exactly how many people have been taken into custody?
Well, ICE, of course, doesn't share that information, but what I would say is that we've definitely encountered the chilling effects which have impacted CUNY, have impacted our public schools, and really because more than half of us are foreign-born, certainly people are living in the shadows right now, and I have grave concerns.
ICE has been posting the numbers on their own site about how many. But anyway, I want to talk more about this guidance that kind of came down from what the mayor's office says is they're the legal team. They're saying it wasn't necessarily them that put out this memo last week that created some confusion about whether or not schools and some safe spaces could be a safe spot for folks or if ICE could go in. They seem to clear up some of this. What's your thoughts on the memo?
I'll be damned if we're going to allow ICE into our public school buildings, into our houses of worship. You know, this city has more than 8 million people, and more than 50% of Queens residents are foreign-born. We can't have law enforcement running up, especially as a father of a 9-year-old who's in school. Imagine ICE coming in with M16s into your child's school. This can't be tolerated, and whoever sent that memo out, it's a real disgrace.
But how did you read it, right? Because when you look at the memo at face value, there was a part that just basically was what caused the issue, which said, if you feel uncomfortable, you know, that's where the language came in. How did you read it?
I read it as it was a backdoor play
to
allow ICE into these facilities. And we are a sanctuary city, whether people like it or not, and there are rules and laws that we must adhere to.
Yeah, but again, like you said, excuse me, your constituents, a lot of them living in fear right now, but they're looking for help, looking for answers. So that the new center is really coming at a very timely time, I guess we could say. So can you talk about what's being done there and how it's going to help these
Well, I
folks?
put $1.8 million into that center, into the Make the Road Center. And this work was being done even prior to Trump being reelected. But we need to make sure that these communities, and you look at all of the challenges we've talked about in the past on Roosevelt Avenue, whether it's sex work, whether it's street vending, this center will play a major role in ensuring that the community gets the information that they need, that we can work on the pathway to citizenship for people. And we've done some Know Your Rights events already up in Corona. And I'm just telling you, people are living in fear. And so it's nothing like having a space centered in your community that everybody would be comfortable to.
What exactly is being offered?
Oh, so they'll have a myriad of different things, whether it's organizing, education is key right now. I think when you speak to education advocates, the most important thing we can do during this period is make sure that our communities are armed with information, and that's what they'll be working on in that particular center.
Information is key, right? And the Know Your Rights, that's all really important for folks. But also, folks know their rights already and are still fearful of going places, right? Work, sending their kids to school. For example, what does it look like in Queens when it comes to schools and whether or not enrollment is up or down? Because the mayor's office seems to be downplaying whether or not there has been some
enrollment is down. We can tell you that. I just had a breakfast with CUNY presidents all across Queens on Friday, all of our college campuses. There are a lot of young people not showing up to college now. So this is going to set back generations of people who really have come here in search of a better life, in search of a pathway to citizenship, who really traveled, some of them up to a year, to come to achieve the American dream.
We want to switch gears now and talk about the bird flu and how it's affecting some of the markets in Queens. And it's not just the zoo either. So can you talk about what the issue is right now, how it stands, and what's being done to help these folks?
Well, I just heard Trader Joe's is limiting how much eggs
one dozen.
One dozen. Yep. Good luck to my son. But let me say this, we're watching it very closely and taking guidance from the state. So we're really working with Governor Hochul's office to make sure that we can do all we can to stem this tide. But this is really going to need a federal response, right? And we saw the way the Trump administration, for instance, handled the pandemic. So I'm hoping that at their level, even as they look to approve this gentleman to the head of our health agencies, that they really do take this seriously.
What, are there? I mean, so will it impact cases?
I mean, we're feeling impacts
at least egg
now.
prices.
I mean, we're feeling impacts now, but God willing, they'll get their hands around this and stem the tide of what we're seeing. But this is going to require a federal and national response.
Yeah, no, you're right. I did see the sign in Trader Joe's. 1 dozen.
Yep.
1 dozen.
That's crazy, crazy. And before we let you go, last week you announced a $25 million investment in schools across your borough. So can you talk about where the money is going to go to, what programs?
Well, we allocated nearly $78 million now since I've been borough president, and $25 million, of course, going to 50 different projects. I was at Jamaica High School, my alma mater, to make that announcement, in which they're getting $4 million. And I apologize to the principals for my behavior when I went to that school and dropped that $4 million, and they said I'm forgiven. But that is going to go to a culinary kitchen. You know, culinary is so important. It's the second leading industry in the United States of America, and we want to make sure that, you know, we're wrapping our hands around ensuring our young people have access to STEM, technology, bathroom replacements, auditorium replacements, gym replacements. Our communities have been so disinvested, and especially District 29 out of South Queens, and we're making sure that we put our money where our mouth is to leave our education system better for our
What were you
young people.
apologizing for?
You know, I was cutting school around first period. I said, and then, you know, but they had swimming first period. Who would go to swimming in the winter first period? So my mother used to make me actually bring a note around and have the teacher sign that I attended my class.
Oh, you were skipping.
The things we learn on this morning.
There you go. All right.
That's how you start. It's how you finish.
That's right, right?
Borough President, thanks again for being here this morning.
Always good to see y'all.